So can you just tell me a little bit about yourself, what discipline you teach, and where you teach?
Yeah, my name is Hien Ho. I am a lecturer of the Faculty of Foreign Languages in the Industrial University of Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. So I mainly teach, language skills and some courses of applying ICT in education for students. And I'm also in charge of, the public speaking courses.
So can you tell me about the course design that you use the ICT within your teaching now? So specifically on the ICT.
The speaking courses, I mean the communicative courses.
Mm-hmm.
So in IUH, there used to be about 30 students in a language class. But due to the rising reputation of our university, so the number of participants in each class has risen to 40 or 45 students in each class. How can we do with that in just 2 periods? I mean, about 110 minutes every week for a subject with such a large number of students. So of course we have to innovate, to transform, to change the way we teach, the way we manage students. So for speaking course, so we have to apply so many tools to encourage students self-study at home. And then we have to find a way to manage their self-learning as long as the group work.
What was the technology that you applied, and can you just describe its characteristics? So you spoke about, having teacher students explore online tools. You've talked about trying to encourage self-study. Is there any specific technologies that you use to do this?
The tool I want to mention now is the Skype in Classroom. Have you ever heard about this? Skype in Classroom. Let me tell you. So do you know that the objectives of a speaking course is what? Is for students to communicate, to share their voice with, other people. For Vietnamese students in my universities, frankly speaking, they don't have much time and great opportunities to communicate with foreigners.
Mm.
We have to pay. Like if I want to invite you to talk with my students, it's not easy, right? Mm. Sometimes we have to pay. It is just normal. But there is a tool that helped me to bring my students to talk with foreign students, with foreign experts. They can make presentations about Vietnamese traditional, cultures. And then they can listen to their foreign friends to share about their, cultures and traditions. We can connect with other classes to play games. Like my students will ask yes/no questions to guess your country. Sammy, like, are you from Europe? And you say yes. Okay. Are you from the north of Europe? Mm. So they will make questions like that. It is a kind of communication, Yeah. So by answering yes or no, and my student will look at the map and they will get where you come from, and then vice versa. Yeah. So after this session, there will be some activities that I and my partner, the teacher, had discussed in advance. So what to do next, like a presentation or like playing a game or like singing songs. Sometimes we singing our national anthem. So here are some pictures that I collected from our sessions. So in this data, you see that I and my students have virtually traveled, this number of miles, virtual miles.
Wow.
Then we have 29 sessions with 29 classes in the world through 17 countries. For example, we went to Spain virtually. My students are, talking with Spanish students and teachers. You can see it's great, right?
Yeah.
So in our classroom, we can travel around the world. And then we went to Germany. Here is Vietnam, here's Germany. We are very far from each other, but through the screen, you see my students were smiling happily, listening to their stories and then asking questions. That is a kind of, communication. Here is, Kenya. My students were in Vietnamese traditional costume. We were giving a presentation about Vietnamese culture. For example, went to Canada. When we were learning about Canadian culture, and then I decided to make a connection with, a Canadian friend, and then my student had an hour session communicating with him. They asked a lot of questions about Canadian, and then Poland, and then Ireland, and so on.
So how digitally confident are you at using technology, and how digitally confident are you at using the technologies that you've shared with me?
I feel happy, and when I can learn some new tools or some new way to explore a tool, I feel very excited. So when I decided to introduce any tool for my students or my colleagues, that tool must satisfy three characteristics. First, it must be multifunctional. Second, it must be user-friendly for both teachers and students. And finally, it must be free.
Have any students given you their evaluation of the ICT? So what the students like about it, what they don't like about it, how it helps them?
By the end of the course, it is not mandatory. It is not mandatory for teachers to collect students' feedback of how satisfactory they are with the use of technology. But I usually deliver some kind of questions, and then I ask how happy you are with the course. What do you like most? Do you like the use of ICT tools in this course? Is there some problems, something like that? And can you believe that more than 90% students were very happy and satisfied and loved the lesson so much?
Wow.
When I asked, why do you love the course? Some reasons like I don't have to this course is online, so I don't have to go to the campus. I don't feel sleepy in class. I don't need to spend time traveling to my friend's house to work in group. So all we have to do to collaborate is done online. Say that I can easily follow your instructions by looking at what you are doing on the screen. They said that When I'm shy, I'm shy person. So when I have a question, if we are in on campus, I would not dare to ask you, but now I can text you